It is one thing to dream of a certain goal. Oh, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to start my own organization. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it is another thing to actually put in the work and attain it. Today, we hope to inspire you to get out of there, to pursue your dreams by listening to the story of one promising advocate here in Kenya by the name Lewis Gicheha, who is the founder and managing partner of Lewis and Company Advocates. We are going to dive into his story, get to see, where he has come from, what the journey has been like, to where he has reached today. And we hope that you're going to be encouraged by his story. Welcome to the Limitless Show. I'm your host, Zipporah Umile. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
And welcome to the show. So this is Limitless Show, and we try to, encourage our viewers. They're mostly young people, so we're trying to encourage them to go out there and, pursue their dreams, to become all that they're called to be. But maybe before we get into your story, it's good for the viewer to know who exactly is Lewis. If someone will, ask you to describe yourself, what would you say?
Thank you. Lewis, most people know him as Gicheha Lewis because my logo is GL. Lewis is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He's an entrepreneur, as you stated, the founder and managing partner of Lewis and Company Advocate. Lewis is a family man. Lewis is a man from the village. I think that would be it.
Mm-hmm. And you look so young, Lewis. I'm sure that some of the viewers are asking, how is he an advocate, at this time, already has their own farm? Did you skip some grades in school?
I am not that young,
Mm-hmm.
but I am young because I'm 30 years.
Mm-hmm. That's still quite young.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just resilience,
Mm-hmm.
passion,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we've been able to be where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So maybe you can give us a brief background, of where you're coming from, maybe where you were born and raised, and what did schooling look like for you? Where did you go to school?
Thank you. Lewis comes from Murang'a County. In Murang'a they say we talk English, we don't speak English, so you will hear much of that. I come from a village back in Maragua constituency. Back then we used to say Kaharo sublocation, and a village called Kareti village. That's where I grew up, that's where I was brought up. Went to my primary school in a local school there by the name Kaharo Primary School. And proceeded to a high school in the same county, Nyagatogo High School. And so I am a man from the village, brought up there. I actually came to the city after Form 4.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So you've talked about your primary school education, high school. So did you immediately, join the university of your dreams and pursue the cause, that you studied for in law?
Thank you. My dream to be an advocate started way back in Form 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that, the things that you are convinced will happen in your life might be the inspiration of where God is leading you to.
Mm-hmm.
Because it came from a situation that happened to my sister.
Mm-hmm.
He was, I would say, conned by a producer. And though she tried to get justice, she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I interacted with legal documents, because I was able to lead a demand letter in her file and following up on her case, and the fact that she never got justice. It gave me that interest of wanting to be in a position where I could defend people, in a position where I could be able to fight for people's rights. And so my dream started that young, when I was in Form 2. And actually, even when I completed my high school, I didn't get the grade that I wanted. And so I remember I was called at Kenyatta University for an agricultural course.
Oh.
And there was all this debate that, you know, this, you've been invited for this, you just take it. But I knew what I wanted to pursue, and so I didn't agree to that. So the condition was that I wait for the next intake and see whether my points would allow me to pursue law. But I really wanted to pursue the course, so I started visiting several universities, getting the requirement, and I had all these papers from like 6 universities, and came and laid them on the table and told my dad, I have all these papers, I have all these, I've done this research, and I want to join law school.
So you had met the requirements?
Yes, I had met the requirement. Just that now KU had taken more points, one more point than what I had. But other universities would accommodate what I had. Yes.
So immediately you went on, you know, now which university did you go?
Let me take you back. When I completed my high school, I was privileged to be employed in a petrol station, a filling station, as a petrol station attendant. And it is while I was there that I used to now visit all these high schools. Because at least I had some pocket money to do this.
You were visiting high schools? Were you doing mentorship?
Visiting universities to get
okay.
this requirement.
So you kept yourself busy after completing Form 4, you know, just before you joined the university?
Yes.
To at least, you know, maybe grow a work culture or grow some income?
I actually, I'm always very thankful to that person who gave me that opportunity. Is called Mr. Mburu, because he exposed me to the world of business very early. And then I was able to be independent. In fact, no one knew that I am doing these university visits. My dad just knew I am working, and that was all. But I was doing all these on my own. So I thank him because he exposed me to the world of being independent, the world of business, and I would see the zeal and the passion that he had in his business. And probably that's why I own a business today.
Is that when, you know, your passion to become an entrepreneur, you know, was born while working at the gas station?
I would say it's part of it, and a combination of so many things. After that is when now I joined a law school in the year 2011.
Which
at
uni?
African Nazarene University.
All right.
I did my undergraduate from 2011 to 2015. Again, I worked so hard at that petrol station until he gave me a chance to be going back during my holidays.
Wow.
So every of my holiday I would go back to the same petrol station, and at least I would get pocket money to resume back to campus. So again, after completing my bachelor's in 2014, because I remember I completed my coursework in 2014, but I had to wait for a whole year to graduate because the university offered only one graduation per year. Okay. So again, I didn't want to go back to the village. And I felt I had outgrown being a petrol station attendant. So that is when I approached a tours and travel firm, and I became a driver.
Wow, really?
Yes, I've worked as a driver at Masai Africa Safaris for 8 months. Because I didn't want to go back to the village. You are educated, you've completed your coursework.
And everyone expects you, you know, to just land a corporate job immediately after university education.
Exactly. People in the village have started calling you Wakiri, so you just don't want to go back to the village.
Yeah.
So I worked as a driver for 8 months. And it was very enticing because I was being paid well. And then I used to visit very high-end places with high-end clients. So it was enticing, but I had to quit and go back to law school, Kenya School of Law, in the year 2016, after I graduated. So I joined KSL in 2016, In 2017, I proceeded for my pupillage, and that is where the journey began. Because I tried applying for pupillage, or what people call internship, in Nairobi. I couldn't get one. I was very frustrated. So I ended up doing my attachment, or what we call pupillage, at Thika town, in a small-sized law firm.
Okay.
But I thank God, because it is in these small or middle-sized businesses that you get to learn a lot.
That you get opportunities easily.
Yes.
Is it that the market in Nairobi was flooded, or?
I think by then we had very few law firms than the students who are coming out of law school. And so if you are not connected, or you didn't apply, you know, fast, early enough, so you wouldn't get a place in Nairobi.
Maybe you can educate me on something. I hear at law school it may take you, you know, more than the required duration of time to actually graduate. I've heard stories about that. Maybe you can educate me a little bit on that.
Let me come to that. Because I also didn't pass all the 9 units in the first attempt. So what happens is that you do your coursework for 12 months and proceed for pupillage for 6 months. And if you passed all the 9 units, you can now be admitted to the bar. You can petition the Chief Justice to admit you to the bar. So when I went for my pupillage at Thika, I completed the pupillage, but there was one problem. I had failed 3 units. So if you fail a unit at KSL, you have to receipt, and you only have 2 chances per year. So you have to wait.
So it's limited.
It is limited. You have to really wait to have that receipt. So I did my first receipt. I failed.
Wow. I hear those exams are usually very tough.
Yeah,
Some units.
very tough.
In fact, I think someone was talking about drafting. I don't know, the drafting unit seems a bit hard for most students.
Yes, Kenya School of Law is a practical part of what you get to learn as a lawyer. So when I failed the second receipt, I now had to tell my boss I think I need time to concentrate on these papers, or else I will take forever. But again, I have quit my job, but I need to be in town, or else I go back to the village.
So
I need to pay rent.
You quit your job at Thika,
Yes.
at the law firm you're working at
Yes.
in Thika.
I had already completed the mandatory 6 months pupillage, and I was absorbed. But now I have failed the exam twice, so I had to quit and concentrate on my revision and my paper. But then life became unbearable, because I need to pay my rent, I need to sustain myself. So the option
And
was to go back to the village.
Everyone at home knows that wakili,
Yes.
like you also had your fair of challenges on the other
In
side.
fact, for us who come from the village, when people see you with the first gown, the first graduation,
Yes.
they presume you
that.
are now an advocate.
Yeah, and
They
that
don't
you're
know you have
working,
to
you're
go.
going to court.
Yes. So there is no way I can go back to the village and people saw my graduation, and people will be wondering what happened.
Yeah.
So when life became unbearable, because I used to live near Juja City Mall, and I used to use their internet. There's a hotel there that I used to buy a cup of tea and use their internet for the whole day.
Wi-Fi.
And then I realized, there is a car wash here. Why don't I approach them? Even as I am doing my studies, I can be getting a coin there, washing the cars. So I was employed as a car wash attendant.
Wow. So you went and sought a job at the car wash?
Yes.
Well, you're waiting to resit your exams.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Remember, it's just few steps to becoming an advocate, but you are now working at a car wash. That was the worst, the lowest point of my life, because people would visit the car wash and maybe see you.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially those who know you from the village. They know you studied law.
Yes. And then maybe they say, Wakiri, he's working in a car wash, maybe he failed or something. That was my lowest point.
And what kept you going during that time? Because I think that's, what many youth in Kenya are struggling with. Just because, you've gone to school, you have an education, you think that you cannot do certain jobs because people will say, people will think.
I always tell people, when you know that the situation or the point at which you are in is not permanent, it's just a stepping stone, then you should, sail through it. Because every diamond, the finest diamonds have to pass through a lot of heat. And that is the heat that I was passing through, so that now I can be refined. In fact, I didn't work for long. I just did the actual car wash for 2 weeks, and the owner realized this guy is different, and he approached me, and he got interested to know more about me, and he made me the supervisor of the car wash.
Just so after 2 weeks of
just after 2 weeks. So after then, now I was able to pass my 2 papers. And just before I got admitted to the bar, I landed a good job at one of the leading law firms in Nairobi.
Wow.
Citadel Law Africa.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
Your story gives so much hope that, you may be at a low point right now, but it doesn't mean that you're never going to get out of it. It doesn't mean that better things are not coming. You just have to persevere.
Yes.
Maybe what was, motivating you to just put in the work, to just work hard? What was it that you were looking at in the future and telling yourself, I gotta do this, I gotta, pass through this?
I've always been hardworking, because, it is only hard work that can change the situation. And especially for us who, you don't have someone to look up to. I can't say that I knew any lawyer from my village or I was looking up to. So it was, in fact, someone was reminding me that in almost the whole district, I'm the only homegrown lawyer,
Oh, you're the only lawyer in that
homegrown
village.
There are others who have grown up in the city, who have grown up elsewhere, but homegrown, someone who've grown up from there. So you don't have an option. You have to work hard if you want to make it, or if you want to change the situation back in the village.
And I'm sure you're a role model to those who are still, in the village. They look up to you.
Oh yes, oh yes. I believe I am. Yes.
So now you got a job at Citadel.
Yes.
Now tell us about the whole journey from there to establishing your own firm.
Yes, so I got that job, and 3 months after admission, I was confirmed as an advocate. But I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to have my own law firm, and so I never worked for money. In fact, I worked so hard. I used to even sometimes leave the office at 10 p.m. Because for me it was not about what I'm being paid, but about the skills that I'm gaining that would prepare me now to be able to stand on my own.
That's really important. In fact, you could just take a second and just speak to the youth about that, because, people are having challenges deciding between the money, the skills. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yes, I always tell young people, and especially before you are 30, you are still very young. You can be able to take a lot of risk. Before you are 30, it is not about the company that you work at or It is about the skills that you gain. It is the skills that will propel you for the next decade or the next 20 years. What do you acquire that can propel you? You can be fired, but do you have the skills to stand on your own? So before you are 30, I would advise any young person, it is not about which company that you are working at. In fact, I always say it's good to work in a small firm because you get to be everything.
Yeah, you multitask.
Yes,
a lot.
when I was in Thika, I was the clerk, I was the messenger, I was the legal assistant. So you're able to gain a lot of skills, and these skills will help you when you have to be on your own. It is not bad to work in big organizations, but the detriment is that you will be placed in a department.
And you'll be tied to a specific duty.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
So that would be my advice to every young person.
And even those who are contemplating, there are people who maybe have not gotten the jobs, but you have an internship opportunity and you think, they're not going to pay me, why should I do it? And maybe you don't even have any experience in that industry. So it will be better to just, proceed, get that internship, at least acquire those skills, and then you can have the say of where exactly you want to work or the kind of pay that you want to have.
Exactly. I always tell people that, you know the word in charge. If you remove the IN, you are left with charge. You have to get in charge before you start charging.
Wow.
Yes. So you have to get the skills before you can start now, dictating about the salary.
Commanding.
Yes.
I can only work. There are those graduates who say, I can only work for this salary.
Yes.
I mean, you graduate thinking, setting this high bar in terms of the salary that you want.
Yes.
But then you come out and realize, hey, my friend, the ground is different. You have to start from somewhere.
Yes. So you have to first get in charge of that field that you want to be an expert on before you can start even talking about money, before you can start charging. Yes. Yes.
Yes. So tell us about your experience at, working at Citadel. How was it? And how long did you take before now establishing your own farm?
Yes, I remember actually when I was being interviewed for that job, the managing partner asked me, the problem we have in this farm is whether people don't stay for long. Do you promise us to stay here? So I honestly told him that I would want to start my own law firm. So I will not promise you I will stay, but one thing I want to promise you is that I will be here for at least 2 years, because I believe in 2 years I would have gained experience or gotten the skills.
And they agreed?
And they agreed because, it's about being honest.
Did they tell you the reason why, people don't stay for long in that company?
It's about, and it's a good company, it's about opportunities, maybe you are employed, you get another better opportunity.
Right.
And it's very frustrating for law firms because maybe they have trained you, you have gotten the collegiality with the clients, and then all of a sudden you leave.
Yeah.
So it creates a lot of disturbance in learning of the cases. So I promised him that at least I will be there for 2 years. And I want to tell you that I was there for 2 years.
Wow. You kept your word.
I kept my word. And after 2 years is when now I started my own law firm.
Maybe we'll just say in those 2 years, because now in your mind you already knew that after 2 years I'm going to establish my own law firm. How are you preparing yourself, for the exit of the company and also just putting up your farm?
Yes, as I have said, I didn't work for money. I wouldn't say I was not being paid well, but that was not my focus. My focus was getting as much skills as I could. So for those 2 years, I worked extremely hard. I worked as if it was my law firm, so that I could gain the skills. I could know how to manage a farm. I could know how to manage clients. And I want to thank that opportunity and the managing partner there, because I was exposed to hired clients, I was exposed to hired cases that now prepared me to know that now I can handle this on my own. Yes.
So by the time you left there, you kind of knew everything, that you're supposed to do?
I wouldn't say I knew everything, because every day is a learning experience. Even today, I'm still learning. But I would say I felt I was ready for the task. And then during that time, I encountered one client that I treasure, because they gave me a book. Her name is Dr. Esther Moshemi. She's the CEO of Samchi Group. She gifted me with a book. She has written a book by the name Give Me My Mountain.
I think I've seen that book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one day I went there for a case brief, but we had a casual talk, and You know, she asked me, what do you think about your future? What do you want to do? And she really challenged me. And I think that statement is in her book. She told me, Lewis, one day you will have to take a risk of starting your own business. Choose whether it is now that you are not married, that you don't have kids, that you don't have loans to pay, that you don't have, you know, bills to pay,
Yeah.
or whether it will be when you will have, you know, a lot of baggage.
A lot of, yeah.
When is the best time to take that risk?
Wow.
And she told me the best time is now.
Wow.
And I think
That was such a good, you know, motivation.
and I think that is what again now propelled me that you know what, even if it doesn't work, I don't have school fees to pay, I don't have bills to pay, let me do this. Yes.
And now, how are you able to get out of that? You know, most, you know, many people who want to start business, they usually face with those fears, like fears of failure, fear of, you know, just the uncertainty of how, you know, the startup will be, if it will be able to stand, if they're going to be in debt. How are you able, you know, did you experience those anxieties and fears?
Yes, the fear is real, and I think that's what prevents people from venturing into their own businesses until when it's too late. You know, when you have these bills to take care, you start thinking, what if it doesn't work? Where will my kids get the school fees from? So the fear was there, but again, with this kind of challenge that I got, I knew I'm still young. If it doesn't work, I have time to get employed. But with the exposure that I had at the petrol station, at the mid-sized law firm in Thika, at the tours and travel firm, I knew that I've been exposed to the world of business, and I had the zeal and the passion. Yes.
Now, capital is one of the challenges that most, you know, entrepreneurs face when they want to put up their own startups. In those 2 years that you were still working at Citadel, was it the time that you had started saving up, or how did you raise your own capital?
I would say that the greatest capital is your skills, because how I started my farm is you know, is amazing, because I encountered this one accountant who used to practice tax law at the Tax Appeals Tribunal. Tax consultants are allowed to practice at the Tax Appeal Tribunal, but in case any party is dissatisfied with the decision of the Tax Appeal Tribunal, they are to appeal to the High Court.
Okay.
So only advocates are allowed to practice at the High Court. And so I encountered this tax consultant. I think he's now the MP elect of Gatodo North.
Oh, okay.
And he had his client had lost a case at the Tax Appeal Tribunal, and they needed to appeal at the High Court. And so when they engaged me, I was still employed, but I was planning to exit. And you know, my skills were the capital, according to me, because I asked this guy, how many such other cases do you have? And he told me numerous.
Okay.
And I don't have an advocate to be working with. And so I suggested, why don't you just give me a room at your office, just at the office, to be working on these matters, you know, hand in hand with you. And he agreed, and that's how I started my farm. I started my farm in an office within an office.
At the client's office?
At the client office. Because my skills were my capital. Sometimes you might not have capital in terms of money, but use what you have.
Use what you have.
Yes.
So you didn't have to, you know, because there are people who are like, I need money to set up the office, I need to buy office furniture, I need to do this. But now by the time you gather all that, time has gone.
Yes, yes. Time will be, you know, I've encountered so many young entrepreneurs who started, you know, with a desk, or they were working from home. And this business will grow on a daily basis, from one stage to another. And I think even God in heaven sees your hard work. He can he can't agree that you continue working at home when you are putting the effort.
When you're putting the effort.
You have to start.
Yes.
Yes.
That quote that says hard work never goes unrewarded.
Exactly.
And then you start with what you have. I love the fact that, you are able to seize an opportunity with your client and, just ask for an office you're given. I think sometimes what, puts people behind is even the fear of even asking, like even just asking, can I get this, or could you do me a favor? Just simple things like that.
Yes, yes. Yes. Even the Bible, the good book says, knock and the door will be open.
Knock and the door will be open.
You have to knock.
I love that. Already I'm really being encouraged by this. Just go out there, just ask, knock at those doors. I mean, if you want to work at a particular place, don't keep dreaming, I want to work in this organization. Go there, knock the doors, ask for the the person in charge, get their number, get their emails. Just go out there so that at least you can kickstart your dream or your goal.
Yes.
Now, so now immediately after now you started working for the person. So did you stay there for a particular time and then you moved out, or are you still there? I mean, how have you been able now to?
Yes, I was in that office for I think only 4 months.
So you were just dealing with his cases specifically?
I started with his cases, but he started referring me to other clients. And then other clients who knew me while I was still working at Citadel started engaging me on small cases, small briefs, because Citadel was a big firm to handle small cases. So they started engaging me on those small briefs, and that's how I was able to grow. Yes, yes.
So then now you moved out, and then?
Yes, after that I moved out. We are to the current location. We are at Muthaiga Square, and now I'm able to be in a bigger space that we can be able to serve our clients better. I have 3 other advocates, 2 practicing and one who is at the Kenya School of Law, who are waiting for admission. And so, yes, we continue to grow, and we thank God. Yes.
I'm sure reaching where you have reached right now, there are certain values, there are certain, principles that you believe in that have kept you going. Maybe will you share with us, what are these values that you've held on to that have made you to be where you are right now?
Yes. I always say the greatest asset for a lawyer is your reputation. And if your reputation is good, a client will refer you to another. People will hear about you. So integrity is key, because it is what will build your reputation. And for lawyers, for our work, it's mostly is about referrals. When you do a good job, that client will mostly tell another person, and that's how you continue building your clientele. So I would say integrity and honesty are the key principles that have helped us to grow.
Integrity and honesty.
Yes.
That's what has kept you moving and going. So maybe which area have you specialized in law?
Thank you. I started as a general practitioner, because when you are starting, you get all types of clients, or you are seeking all types of clients so that you are able to grow. But as we've progressed, I have now narrowed down my practice to commercial. I do a lot of commercial, family law, and criminal litigation. But having said that, I said that at Lewis and Company Advocate we have 2 other practicing advocates. So we have departments, and they have specialized on other areas. So I would say as a firm we deal with general practice, because when you visit a firm, you will be able to be advised who is the better advocate to deal with your matter. But personally, I deal a lot with commercial, family law, and criminal law. Yes.
Maybe for the sake of curiosity, how was your first case? The first case ever? What was your experience? How did you feel like? Were you anxious? Were you confident?
My first case is what inspired me now that this can be done. It is the case that I have told you of the client who gave me an office. I was required to appeal a decision of the Tax Appeals Tribunal. Tax dispute amount was huge. It was huge. And when I succeeded, though I had done this when I was working at Citadel.
You already used to going to court.
Yes, though I had done this, this was now under my desk. This was now under my name. And so there was that fear. But when I was able to deal with the matter and I raised a fee note, a good fee note, and the client paid happily, is when now I realized this can be done.
And you won that case?
Yes, yes.
Is there any case that you have, that has not gone through?
Of course, in practice, there will be those cases that I would not say they are weak, but they are not in your client's favor. But we always do our best to ensure that your interest, the client's interests are taken into consideration. Sometimes it's not about losing a case. A client might know that they have a weak case, but they would want you to mitigate the risk or the losses. Yes, so we do our best to not only win, but to ensure that we mitigate, if it's a business that we are representing, we mitigate the risk and the loss.
All right.
Yes.
All right, so I understand that you also do mentorships, you go to schools, you speak to students. You can tell us about that.
Thank you. I can say I am a product of good mentorship. And good mentorship from my seniors in the profession, from my seniors even in church, is something I hold dear to. And because of this, I also give out to the community. Through the same thing that I have received and I feel it has helped me to grow, I have to pass it over to other people. And that is how I started mentorship. I do a lot of high school mentorship. I also do minister the Word of God in churches. As I worship at the Anglican Church, so I participate a lot in the Anglican church activities, both in Nairobi Diocese and back in my home diocese. And through that, when I started mentorship, I didn't know that people watch until when I started being involved to be a board member in high schools. And that is when I realized, hey, Kuba people do watch. Kuba people do know what we are doing out here. Because I remember when I was called by the county education secretary that I have been appointed as a board member in 2 schools. I almost told him, you've mistaken. Because I knew boards are, retired people are the ones who sit on these boards. Yeah. But whenever you do good, people watch.
And I'm sure you're either the youngest or one of the youngest.
Yes, I'm youngest. I'm youngest. People do see, and even if people cannot see what you're doing, there is someone upstairs who sees, and he rewards. Yes.
So you're working knowing that you're not doing it for man, but you're doing it for God.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because God is our boss, the ultimate boss and the rewarder.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes.
And maybe what would you tell, the young person out there who, is probably desiring to be in your, situation, maybe have their own law firm, or they're still studying in school, or there are those who maybe have already completed, Kenya School of Law. Maybe they also want to start their own firm, but they feel inadequate, because there's also that issue where someone might feel, maybe I'm not talented enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not this one enough, these things that come up. What would you tell them?
Yes, I would tell them, first you gain the skills. Work for someone, even if you are not paid, if you don't get employment, just be attached in a firm so that you can get the skills that will help you. The other thing is that it is better taking risk when you are young than when it will be too late. If you take a risk now and it doesn't work out, you are still young, to start other things. You're still young to venture, and you can be able to, come up with something. So don't be afraid. Take risk when you are still young, but most of all, ensure that you get the skills that are needed. But most importantly, get a mentor. I have my seniors in the profession who I consult on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, because mentors will help you not to make the mistakes that they did. Yes.
So you learn from their mistakes,
Yes.
and you're able to, avoid those mistakes and choose the right path.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So thank you so much, Lewis, for honoring this interview and shedding light on this topic and encouraging us and motivating us. I believe our view at home, you've been able to capture something that you can apply in your life. So from this show, get out of that chair. I'm challenging you. You've sat, enough. Amka. Enda hustle, enda tuma hiyo email, enda tafuta your manager, go and do something about your life, because time is money, time is precious. Just do something with your life. So I'd like to close it at that today. Thank you so much for staying with us on this channel. I've been your host, Zipporah Umele. I hope to see you in the next episode where we can have more conversations. But for us now, we call it a wrap and we say goodbye.